Have you ever been playing games, minding your own business, and kind of in your zen moment? Then out of nowhere, your girlfriend feels you being too calm, having too much fun? Just a sixth sense she has. So she decides to violate you 3 times in a minute. And now you might be asking, how can one get violated so many times so fast? Well, let's analyze this play. So the girlfriend comes in, no flag yet, just seems like she wants to chill. But here, stop the footage. Violation 1, she grabs the controller mid-gameplay and probably messing up your run, spiraling your game into impending doom. And there, pause. She dislodges the controller and yeets it out of catch radius and out of bounds of play. She follows up by blowing up the whole formation by changing the TV input and hitting you with a double move. First, not even putting on some solid series or anime, but something like Ultimatum, and then ISOs you by laying her head on your lap. You've lost. Your character's probably dead. You've lost possession of the TV, and now you're stuck watching 3 hours of uninterrupted trash TV. Looking back at these plays sometimes makes you wanna...
Yeah. Eeny, meeny, miny, here goes.
But fear not. No need to go to such extremes. The game is not over. You can recover. Let's see if the PS Portal can fit into your playbook. So friends, welcome to this week's video. This week we are going over the PS Portal, and I've brought this with me on a business trip, but I have had this for like a few months now, and I definitely have some insights on when it works well, when it doesn't work well, how this is with different internet connections and things like that. But we should probably talk about, you know, a bunch of other stuff in terms of specs and all that. So I'm gonna cut away and go back to some stuff that I shot before this business trip, and I'm gonna get dinner in the meantime, but I'll see you guys back here to talk about flying with this guy, but stay tuned for that. The Portal package is really bare bones. You get the controller, a USB charging cable, and the manuals. There's no major accessories. Note that there's not a dock like the Switch. I would love it if they included that just for charging and presentation. This guy kind of looks awkward charging on the table. In terms of size, it's about a foot long and weighs 529 grams. That's essentially a loaf of bread both in length and weight. The screen is 8 inches diagonally and can achieve 1080p quality. In terms of brightness, they don't have a stated lowest nit, but they do have all the way up to 500 nits, which essentially is daylight brightness, so you should be able to visibly see this in the daylight with no issue. However, I do want to caveat that the new iPhone 15 Pro gets 2000 nits, so this isn't stupidly bright, but it should do the job no matter what kind of sunlight conditions you have. On the top side, you get the power, sync, and volume buttons alongside of your shoulder buttons and triggers. Your grips are essentially bigger DualSense controllers and smashed on the side of a screen. The buttons are nice and tactile and have a nice clear aesthetic and include directional pads, shape buttons, and then the other buttons for your screenshot, start, and mic buttons. The sticks are nice and grippy like the standard DualSense controllers and have the same input features. Along the top, the shoulder buttons follow a similar feel of the DualSense as well. The R1 and L1 buttons are clicky, while the R2 and L2 have the same adaptive triggers that can adjust resistance based on your game or your personal preferences. Overall, it's not a far departure from what you're used to out of the PS5 controllers, but there is one major change that was necessary due to the controller configuration, and that's the touchpad. Obviously, you can't have that, so they added a touch gesture that can be easily accessed through a double tap of the lower right or lower left part of the screen. Now, how do we know how this looks in hand, as well as the inputs? Let's give you some samples about how this sounds with the native speakers.
Let's cook with fire, baby. Easy.
Hello again.
𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐄. 𝐕𝐈𝐃.
I feel we're intruding. We should leave quickly.
Calm yourself. You will not be harmed. Our leader has called off the hunt. She wishes to speak to you.
And in the event you don't want to use the speakers or you just need a little bit more intimate listening, you can always plug into the back with a 3.5 jack headphone, and you can use it that way. You'll see a little headphone icon pop up to say that you're manually connected or analogically connected to the device, and this will obviously let you get better audio. However, I know some of that's annoying, right? You don't want to be necessarily plugged into this, so you have 2 options from what I've found. One is the standard option of buying really expensive PlayStation headphones that work with their PS Link software. Again, this does not have native Bluetooth on it, so that means you can't just use your Bluetooth headsets. They've made it really annoying where you gotta buy some really overpriced, not worth it headphones just to use this with their device. Not the best situation. However, there are hacks around it, and one of those is a Bluetooth dongle. So essentially all it is this is built for airplanes. I'll put a link to one of these in the description, but all it is a Bluetooth, well, I guess it's a receiver and transmitter, but you will want to put this one on transmission, plug it in just like you do with your 3.5, and then this will provide a Bluetooth signal for your headphones to pair with. That's the only other way that I can think of that would allow you to use your existing earbuds and not drop hundreds of dollars on Sony specific headphones. So take it what you will. Those are the ways to connect via audio. With all this conversation about how this sounds with earbuds, here is some samples using my wired IEMs.
Anything I just said, they're gone. I know our plight is grim, but if there is even a chance to save them, we must take it.
If our children are truly gone, then we ask for blood. I know you can understand that, Spawn.
Once connected to Wi-Fi, connection is pretty seamless, and you get lag-free performance if you have a strong signal. You'll get solid 1080p resolution with 60 FPS and 60 Hz refresh rate at peak performance. Things will look smooth and gameplay will essentially be the same as if you were on the TV, but with less resolution. Again, it's a great convenience, especially if your friends or family want to use the TV and you want to keep playing. Cutscenes look sharp, and a step back in resolution isn't really noticeable. Even in gameplay, things look good. You do notice some shading and color differences, but overall a good experience. However, in my playthrough, swings in internet did cause things to get a bit potatoey. I noticed especially in late nights when Xfinity was randomly throttling me. You'll notice this especially in dark and neon areas in the game. It starts becoming more of an impressionist paintings and things blur together. However, in my testing my house, I really didn't have a ton of those issues, and it was just a great convenience to have around. I did use it when Samiko was watching TV. I also used it on the toilet. I also used it on work. Especially with work, it's really nice because I can still attend calls, and then if I'm getting bored or I'm not leading a call, I can kind of whip out the PS Portal and still get some gameplay in. It's much more convenient not being tethered to your living room with your big screen and be able to bring this in front of your laptop or whatever your work situation might be. It's really good for games where you just need to loot around and you're just looting and selling and not really doing anything super mindful or progressive of the game, and your meeting is not really consequential to you, you're just there for attendance. So there's plenty of times where I was able to multitask my work as well as multitask my game and get a lot done throughout the day and never feel like I was missing out on either front. So all well and dandy in terms of this working on your Wi-Fi in your house near your PlayStation, but does this work outside the home? First test, turn on the hotspot, connecting this guy to said hotspot and just seeing if it'll work with my phone. So we turn on the PlayStation. So even on that, it seems like it works, which is great. But again, we're still in my house around the PlayStation. Let's take this to the office and see if this will work. So I'm gonna pack this up. We'll try this again in the morning, and I'll see you guys in office. Big note here, make sure your console is in rest mode and not off mode. While your standard controller can turn on your console, the PS Portal cannot. It will only be able to wake from rest. So as we transition to office, that means taking this about a half mile away and 14 floors up from where my console is. In office, I couldn't get the PS Portal to connect directly to the internet because of the single sign-on policies. As a result, I tried to use my phone to get to the internet and hotspot into my PS Portal, but the office internet was giving me a little bit of inconsistent connection via my phone, so I was stuck using my cellular service. This gave me some hope because it did start connection, but it was quickly crushed by the frequent disconnects. I could barely get to the start menu of a game. Later in the day, I figured I'd try something more close to the ground and see if things worked better without building interference. I went to get a drink with my friend Evie's and had the same disconnect issues. With all of that being said, I didn't get a great experience using this with cellular service, and likely this should only be used with something with a strong Wi-Fi connection. Before we get to the Wi-Fi performance, I do want to revisit size and portability. Carrying cases for this guy are chunky as fuck. They have some good protection, but they're definitely not as easy to tote around as the Switch cases. As for me, I tend to transport this in my chrome ruckus sling as it fits perfect in the large pocket divider. It won't help prevent stick drift like a proper case, but it's a hell of a lot easier to transport this way. On that note, let's take this to a local cafe which is a couple miles from my home. Here we connected to the cafe Wi-Fi and immediately got connection with almost no wait time as compared to with our cellular test. When playing Tekken 8, we were able to get a no-lag experience with great colors and sharpness. We didn't experience any blurriness, nor dips in graphics throughout the cafe session. You can see how locked in Samiko was into the game, so obviously it works relatively well in public Wi-Fi settings. On our next test, we tried to push the range even more by getting on a train and having our friends pick us up for a weekend sleepover in the burbs. After a fancy drink at their local speakeasy and a quick drive to get greeted to their home by their little doggos, we ended up 35 miles from home. After connecting to their Wi-Fi, things behaved as expected. We got sharp gameplay, but with the better internet in the burbs, we never had drop-offs and picture quality retained throughout the test. The only interruptions we had were the doggos waiting for attention. Well, that and our friends being a little bit too extra with their alcoholic hospitality.
Eevees, what the fuck, dude?
I have a lot of things in my house.
Oh my lord.
So yes, I did experience some blurry gameplay, but it wasn't at the fault of the PS Portal. It was my own issues with saying no to my friends. After a long weekend and a quick karaoke session to the train station, we headed back home to the city. But that didn't mean that our travels were over. I quickly found myself having to fly to Atlanta for work. This gave me an opportunity to test how things would be on airplane Wi-Fi, as well as being over 1,000 miles from my console. So to this point of the review, you guys have a good understanding of what comes out in the box, what you're kind of getting, overall performance, and how this behaves on Wi-Fi versus cellular. But to this point, you've also only seen sort of like near-field communication with my PS5. So, you know, same house, same city, same state. But I figure, what happens if I push the limits a little bit more? So I have this trip in Atlanta for work, and I decided, like, why not bring it, see how it performs, try it on the plane, try it in the airport, try it other places, and see if it still performs. Overall, connection. This is probably more of the issue with Delta than anything, but I was having a really hard time getting a strong connection or a reliable connection. So it would come in and out pretty frequently, probably every 10 minutes or so, but it would go through its reconnection processes. So I do like that it was trying to get reconnected, and it only took like at max maybe like a minute and a half to get reconnected. So while it was disturbing, it wasn't like a deal breaker. I could still like deal with it because I'm on a plane and nothing else better to do, and still get some gaming. So I'm not gonna complain too much. But because of the lack of connection strength, you're gonna get a lot of lag. So even just through menus, clicking back and forth, you see like a significant lag. It'll be like click, then it'll go over. It's super long. I'll show you guys some B-roll here about some of the stuff that I was going through. But that lag obviously makes it not ideal for certain games like fighters or FPS games. Like, you're gonna die. Like, you will just die because you're not gonna be able to react to anything. People are just going to freaking smoke you. It's not gonna be a fun time. You will lose against computers. It's just not gonna be great. And I will say, like, I was about to say, like, oh, it's not that bad for Baldur's Gate because, you know, you have turn-based actions. But let me break that down of, like, you still got to navigate to get to those battle sequences. So it was impossible. Like, Act 1, you're on a Nautiloid. It's super dark. When I started the new playthrough, I played as Will, who's just a human that doesn't glow or doesn't have light skin. And so it's like, I can't see him in the darkness, and that lack of connection made it really difficult to like find the right spots or avoid things like fire. So I would just run into fire like half the time and almost die. And yeah, that lag was just really difficult to make precise movements. And even in battle, when I'm trying to like put the cursor in the right place to say attack this person, it would be off, and sometimes I'd attack my ally, which was annoying. But that lag also kind of contributed to how long it took me to get out of the first room. It took me 30 minutes to get out of that first room because I wanted to explore everything. There was 2 chests in there. There's not a lot in that first room, but between disconnections and lag and me just running into things and having to reheal and all that other stuff, 30 minutes. Not fun. And I was just thrown into more darkness, which made that first part of the act on the Nautiloid freaking terrible. I could not wait to make it to the beach. But yeah, we were just having issues with that in general. In terms of that connection too, it also impacts the audio. So at one point I just stopped using the audio because it was so skippy. Because you have lag and it tries to catch up to the sequences and things like that, you'll hear those clicks and catch up in your headphones. So that's just going to be something that you need to be wary of because it gets annoying. So if you have a bad connection, it won't be pleasurable because there's just all that weird like static and weird noises that come through the headphones that just doesn't make it pleasurable at all. And then because I was in darkness for so long, I didn't realize about the settings. Like I did try to bump the brightness. It didn't really help too much. But what it happened was once I got off the Nautiloid and onto the beach, I was like, oh, this thing is tuned for my TV. Everything is super exposed. This is pure white. So that's something you'll need to also tune is just go into your settings and probably tune things down because the screen here is just rendering a lot brighter than what my TV is. Obviously, your results may vary depending on what monitor you have, but it is something that you'll have to edit to make sure that it will work well with your PS Portal. I did bring in-ear monitors from Moondrop. However, those are probably too high quality for these. While it did sound good, I needed to blast that noise up all the way. So like while those IEMs are fine for my phone, fine for my laptop, there doesn't seem to be strong amperature in this guy where it'll help with the volume. So that you just got to be able to test the headphones that you're going to be using for this to make sure that they work for you. So like, traditional earpods will work fine. Anything that's like a more of a cheaper model of earbuds will be fine. You just got to be worried about the ones that are higher quality. They just may not be able to drive enough volume. I was maxed out the entire time, and it was a little bit annoying. That's the playing experience in a nutshell. But there's other places that I tried this. So I did try this in the airport, and I got obviously a lot better connection there. But that's when things started playing out more smoothly. Like I didn't have potato quality, I didn't have skipping, I didn't have weird audio. This is a smooth gameplay through public Wi-Fi. It was super solid. I had nothing to complain about that. It was just very nice. I could progress my game a lot better. And yeah, I played for like maybe half an hour before I called my Uber, and it's fine. In Atlanta, I will say that the Wi-Fi was working a lot better for me here. So like my cellular service was working solid, and I can get good gameplay even in the cab. What I will say is it will kill the battery on your phone and drain your data pretty quickly. But, if you want to play, you can make that sort of caveat there. But yeah, I was surprised that it was still working out well because I wasn't getting great service in Boston. I'd get great service in Boston. I wasn't getting good gameplay in Boston. But Atlanta was a lot better. And then finally I got to my hotel, and I'm in the Ritz-Carlton. It doesn't feel like a Ritz-Carlton because it's a little bit jank. But I would assume that the Wi-Fi is relatively solid for a higher class chain. I played this for a few nights, and I still got drops. Like they weren't as frequent as on the plane. It was probably like every 60 to 90 minutes I'd get a drop. And things like that. There just might be some weird throttling on their side. But I'd also get weird potato quality, which I didn't like. It's like sometimes the strength would dip, and then, I'm like, everything looks like a mosaic art piece, and then it would catch up. But overall, I got pretty solid gameplay. I didn't have catch-up mechanisms, but, there's this drop in quality a lot of times that made it a little bit annoying, especially if there's a cutscene. I was just like, I am watching, literally paint splotches, and it was not great. So that's something that I was surprised by. But again, Wi-Fi connectivity is everything with this device. So that's something to consider. I do have some more things to talk about, but I do need to pack and do all this stuff before I leave this place. But we'll catch up when I am back home. So as you can see, this is extremely convenient and super easy to use. Even Samika's finding use cases for this when I'm taking up the living room to shoot these videos. But the thing that I did notice that I missed when shooting this was I forgot to talk about battery. And battery for me was about 4 to 5 hours at 100% and 50% haptics or medium haptics. That for me is a good enough session, especially if I'm using it just around the house or around the city for some convenient play. But again, some of you guys are more marathon people who might want to use this more often. That's when you'd probably have to bring it down to like 50% to get that 7 to 9 hour projection that they're giving you. But again, for me, I just like having it at 100%. I just like to have the bright colors. But if you're okay with it or you're, playing in the dark a little bit more, 50% is fine. But, if I want to use this in the middle of the day, 100% is what I would want to use anyway. So you'll get some variability there. Would I use this for travel around the city, playing around my house? Absolutely, because I have enough assurance that it will be reliable, I'll be able to get a connection, and that it will perform. Am I as confident on like cross-country or international travel? Absolutely not. And that's what we noticed in Seattle. That's a 6-hour flight away from here. I forgot to shoot some stuff for this review, and that's the reason why it's late. I just had this with me because I wanted to play, but I was like, oh, cool, I can shoot these shots I missed, but I couldn't because it would not connect. And I had this on standby, I was pretty sure. So I basically had a big flat paperweight on me that I couldn't use, and it was a little bit annoying to have, knowing that I couldn't play it. When I got back home, I was like, okay, maybe I just forgot to put it on standby. No, that boy was on standby. So I have no idea why it didn't connect. I was a little bit upset because this review got delayed, but also I just had this long thing that took up some backpack space. And again, it's not as seamless as a Steam Deck or an Asus ROG Ally where, it's all like one big piece. This one has more ergonomics, but it definitely is a little bit more snaggy. I'm a little bit more concerned. I feel like I have to baby it a little bit more than I would those other devices. So it's not the best travel companion in that sense. So yeah, I just don't recommend it for that. However, if you're looking for something like that, Sony might have you. There's a ton of reports about a competitor to the Steam Deck that's for your PS5 games that will not be reliant on Wi-Fi and will be able to play your games, remotely, completely. And that would be lovely, especially because I have a trip to Japan coming up. I would love to use that for all my PS5 games and, stay on the ecosystem and not have to buy games on Steam. But I have a feeling that won't come out in time, and I will probably have to buy the Steam Deck or Asus ROG Ally to get my gaming needs on that long flight. So we'll see what happens. But I do hope that they do release that because that would be great to have. So overall, I will say that I do recommend it because it is a super convenience, again, just to be able to have to deploy your games out at any point in time around your home area. It's just super fun, and then someone else can use the TV and you can still get your gaming on. Totally perfect for that, and I would recommend it for that. It is a little bit pricey for a remote, but if you think about how much you'll use it, it's not that bad. Especially if you can give some convenience to your family members and your friends, your roommates, whatever it might be. So that's all I have to say about it. I hope you guys do check it out. I hope you did enjoy the review. I apologize for the lateness of this, but I did want to make sure I was being thorough. So yeah, overall, that's it. If you want to see what's coming up next, I do have some collaborations I'm trying to work on. I'll keep you guys looped into that, but there will be some sneakers, there will be some headphones, there will be some travel stuff coming up, so definitely stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, if you could, please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things you normally do on a video that you like and love, and I'll see you shortly. As always, I appreciate you. Also, if you want to see stuff from her, Moments with Mika, she has a channel, and it's about lifestyle and fashion, all that sort of stuff. So definitely check that out. But we'll see you guys soon. Bye.